Welcome to OmniBasis. This is a quick tutorial based on the CCL example of 3-day on-site program. We break it in a couple of parts. First is to review just overall structure of OmniBasis and all the products working together. Then we dive into OmniWorks and working with resources and resource scheduling. Then we'll review a project that has been built out based on your 3-day scenario and do various tasks with that project, including line-by-line items that you're looking for us to implement or to have. Having said that, if you have additional questions, always feel free to reach out. So at this point, OmniBasis continuing growth integrated product list. They're all listed and well described on the omnibasis.com website. Here I want to highlight a couple of quick things. With OmniSite, this is where we can configure the site, the navigation structure, the custom navigation, appearance for your site, for your dashboard, logos, fonts, you name it. Including you can configure different languages, different language text, and on and on and on. Pretty much anything you see via user interface can be changed on OmniBasis. The Omni Customer project module will help you to configure the roles that fit your organization. And with that, you can set up the roles and organization units and then manage the user accounts that allows you to connect to those roles. It also where there's a full featured CRM system, so anybody you do business with can be recorded here as a customer, and in that case, all of the interactions with them will be captured here, as well as on the resource level or the project task level. There's a lot to explore here, so I'm not going to spend any more time here. I do want to mention one feature might be value to you. The Omni Marketplace allows you to set up vendors who do business with you, and those vendors can be also resources like facilitators or executive coaches, and those vendors can then go ahead and configure their own profiles and how they appear in your system with their vacation times, availability, rates, and on and on and on. So quite elaborate system. It's used by businesses to build the marketplaces, various marketplaces. All right, let's dive into OmniWorks. So a few things that you see right away. There's a dashboard which will appear differently for different users because it isolates the tasks that are more important to that user. We support different views. One is a project-based view. Another one, if you're familiar with Kanban boards. So you can have unlimited Kanban boards. You can have projects with main Kanban board or many boards. You got a long exhaustive task list, which also will appear in projects or boards itself. You got a comprehensive resource list, and we'll go dive into opportunities about how to configure and manage resources. You have a comprehensive calendar for the resources where it also loads real-time availability for those resources and assignment. For example, the facilitator was marked not available from September 1st to September 8th, and the resource calendar will show that. We support timesheets and timesheet management. It's useful if you want to actually capture the time worked and use it for billing purposes. And of course, everything can be templatized. You can build the project templates, you can build board templates, and you can build task templates. So once you build a template, you simply select copy, and that project will be copied into your new project. All right, so here let's quickly look at the settings. So pretty much every record in OmniBasis can be customized with custom fields. So in addition, For OmniWorks, you can customize your project stages, and for tasks, you can customize what kind of task type you do. For resources, you can connect your resources to custom fields as well. You can manage the timesheet and approval workflow, and also support blockchain integration. We have one blockchain network, or you can integrate with whenever if it's needed. So at this point, I want to show a couple of quick customizations. If I do a filter in tasks, it remembers the last filter as I move around between the boards and projects and tasks. It also allows me to save the filters, so which might be important to some of you. So let's say I want a task filter on all the facilitator tasks, and I like that result, and I want to save it for later. So click Save Search. Facilitator tasks. Boom. That search now saved. Later, when I return, let's say I reset and see all the tasks. When I see specific task, I'll look at my filters. Here's my filter I used previously. Here's my 3 tasks for facilitator. Beautiful. So let's spend a little bit of time on understanding resources and how they can fit into your system. Let's take, for example, Facilitator 1. In the case of a Facilitator 1, I have configured it to be with various fields. So the things that are appropriate for you, I think, are things like you can exclude or show in different timelines or calendars. You can also build the labels. So labels is an easy way to search it later. So it's a facilitator. I can also build the skills. Those are my custom field. So you can search for that skill later. Things that are relevant to you here is pricing rules. This is where you set up what the profit is, what the cost is, what you're billing at it. The pricing engine quite flexible. And the workflow. The workflow allows you to set up connectivity to a specific user in the system or customer. If you connect that to the user or customer, you will be additionally stored information about communication to that resource on that level, at customer level. If it's connected to user will be able to log in and see itself as a resource. You can connect that to the vendor. So in my case, I had set up Joe Help as a vendor, and if he is a facilitator 1 in our role, he'll be able to manage this resource. You can set up notification emails and phone numbers without connecting to anything or in addition to it. So, and on and on and on. So quite an extensive workflow setup process. On the workflow nodes, this is where you set up templates for the nodes. So whatever that tasks, whenever that facilitator is booked to the task, to the booking, for example, the Welcome to CCL node will be used to welcome that facilitator. Workflow tasks allows you to set up the tasks for that facilitator. What it means is whenever you add that facilitator to your schedule, those tasks automatically will appear on your project. Beautiful. Okay. So now we want to jump back out of here. The facilitator view shows us a detailed timeline. Anything that happens to that facilitator is recorded here. Any emails we send to him, any communication, any task assignments, it's all in the convenient timeline here. We can see a lot of different things about facilitator, but I quickly jump into a task list of assignments for this facilitator. Happens to participate in day 1, 2, and 3 of the upcoming conference. I can also see that facilitator calendar. Notice it's not available the first week of September, but then it says a schedule for 3-day orientation a 3-day online on-site program. Facilitator can record the timesheet, or you can record the timesheet facilitator if you chose to use timesheets. Facilitator can set up its own availability on which they are not available or which they are available. It's quite flexible and extensive. You also set up what kind of notification and buffer you need to have. So let's say I need, before booking me 2 hours buffer and 2 hours after. In this case, whenever that resource is going to be booked to the project task, that buffer will be carried on and booked on. Okay. So the nodes helps me to set up a nodes with this facilitator, communicate with that facilitator. Any nodes are sent from the task level may appear here. So making sure you are available next week. Set up a workflow. I'm going to send it to the customers, and we're going to send them email, and I want to track when that facilitator will open the email. So we click save, and this node is scheduled to be sent to that facilitator. Beautiful. Let's move on. So the files, if there's any files, documents, agreements, you can store them in one convenient place. Another thing that is nice to work with is required resource. So let's say this facilitator requires some resource that is booked together. For example, a meeting equipment. Then you can connect that facilitator to that resource, to another resource or group of resources. So when the tasks are created, that additional resource automatically added to the task. No extra step required. So let's see, this facilitator is IT challenged and they need help. So anytime the facilitator is going to be added to the project task, IT coordinator will be assigned automatically to the same task. All right, beautiful. So this is what this is good for now on the facilitator level. We're going to go and explore more at the task levels and project level. So let's jump into the project, and at our project level, we have the view of details of the project, the admin of the project. Now we can manage a bunch of things around the project. So let's look at some of the things we can configure here. Obviously, custom fields allows us to configure projects. We can turn existing project in a template. That's cool. Here, if we do billing with it, we can set up a default currency. We can choose the storage provider for all the files associated with the project, and quite a bit of different customizations. We can narrow down the permissions to access this project and project information. We can set up the workflow for the task notification, for the messages to default messages, for resources, for any consent required, for any notification of emails, etc., etc. We can also build our own custom list for tasks, integrated with mobile wallet, which is allows you to track the status on your phone via one mobile wallet technology available on Apple and Android phones. Again, it allows you to connect to blockchain and allows us to schedule. What scheduling allows us to do set a start date and end date, and then if the changes in schedule require you to move to next week, you don't have to manually go and change every task. All you do is come here, pick a new start date. You say, okay, I want to update everybody and send them email. I want to update everybody and send them SMS message and click rebase project tasks. OmniWorks will go through every task and will use your existing work breakdown structure to build a new tree of tasks and the new timeline. All right, beautiful here. Well, let's go back to the project view. Before we jump into a task category, each project has a main board. One way to highlight important tasks, and this is just like a Kanban board. If something moving along, just drag from one to another. If you want to choose it, move it between event coordinator and different resources, you just drag it from one to another. You can have as many boards as you want. Example is planning board and all the planning related tasks there. Next is a resources list. Now, resources list is where you configure the resources for the projects. I have a separate video about 20 minutes which looks into different ways of adding the resources, configure resources. Here I'll give you a brief overview. Resource can be configured and added 3 different ways. You can manually add the resource here and assign resource to the task and set a status if you already know that resource is available and agree to do the work. Second one, you assign the resource and you send that resource a confirmation mail saying, hey, are you available to help us out? And the third one is that you create a task, you assign the resource to that task, and then you send that resource email with that task information saying, hey, are you available on these days to do that task? Okay, so those are 3 ways. In your requirements, you have a feature that allows you to create a number of facilitators for the same tasks, and that's very easy to demonstrate, and I'll demonstrate later, where you send, invitation to participate in the meeting for 3 days to 5 different resources, and half of them respond, half of them don't, and you decide which ones you want to onboard for that project. A lot of things customized around resource, including how it appears, how you communicate. You see a timeline of a resource and what's been going on with that resource. So let's pick a resource here called Event Coordinator. I notice it's not started yet. So if I change the status of resource to assigned, you can help. So I just assign this resource to this project. When the resource is signed, it automatically receives the email saying, hey, you've been assigned, please accept yes or no. So let's look in this resource and see if the email has arrived. Okay, just quickly show you how to troubleshoot something here, which is actually nice to see. So that resource had an email misconfigured in that temporary mailbox I'm using. So it tells me the email is bounced. In my timeline, it shows me that email bounced with an arrow. So what I did, I went ahead and corrected that email to the correct one. In this case, I can see, and I send the email verification. That email verification came, and now I can click on and verify my email address. So success, that's great. So that means I should be able to reload this customer and see that email for that customer being verified. Beautiful. That's what I expected. So that resource was connected to the customer, to resources, to OmniWorks, which now we can go back to the project and do this again. So let's go back to resources, and then and let's some email did not go through originally. Where's our event coordinator? Executive coaches. Here you go. We can remind the resource. Hey, you've been assigned to this task. Boom. The email is sent. Notice there's a message here sent, on-site message coordinator. So the message was sent to that resource, and shortly we should see arrival of that message. All right, the message arrives. So look, here you go. I received a message saying, hey, resource request for 3-day program. You can customize this message however you want. If I click to view it as a resource on the project, I've set up a consent. So I agreed to use the system, and I am in the project spawn. I can confirm or reject. So happy to be part of it, and I confirm it. Beautiful. I just confirmed that I am a resource on this. If I reload my timeline, I should see on-site message on-site manager event coordinator is scheduled. And if I reload my resources, I see that I am scheduled now with a happy to be part of it message back. All right, that's one way to assign resources. Another way to assign resources is through the task level. So let's jump into the task level and assign resources. So before we do that, let me walk around on different views at the task level. Obviously, you got a full list of these tasks, which you can export it if you need to. You can see a work breakdown structure of those tasks. So let's expand all of them or collapse all of them. While we're here, actually, I want to point out a nice feature which you request that maybe there are projects within projects within projects, and you don't want to see all the tasks. So we have an easy way to hide sub-projects just with a simple hide button. So the virtual post-program coaching program is hidden now. If I unhide it, the entire tree will unhide, and it will be in our tree as we go around. Also, another thing around here, there's a filter here set up. I can narrow down the task to a specific criteria. Criteria can be a resource, can be dates, stages, priorities, can be custom fields like skills levels or any other additional task. Who is supervisor, for example. Same thing. I can pull the existing filter here or save that search or completely reset it. So quite flexible search here. There's a lot of things to search on. The tree itself is very easy to navigate. Let's say, in this case, we're going to set up a facilitated meetings, and we decided we're going to add the 4th day. So we're going to click create, day 4. At this point, we're going to start on Friday, and we're going to start at 7 a.m. And now I need a facilitator for 8 hours. So automatically 8 hours is calculated with an end date. It was an end date and time. So notice I have not assigned this day 4 to any facilitators because we're going to go in a second and do that in bulk. So let's go on to date 4. We're going to go to manage and look at the resource assignments for that. There's no resources. So I can here add the project resource that are already in my project, or somebody hasn't been assigned to my project for anything, I can add them automatically here. So it's beautiful. So if it's not assigned to my project, when I add resource to any task, it automatically pulled into my project. So I know I have a facilitator already in my project. I'm going to select that facilitator and assign it. And remember that if my facilitator had an IT coordinator as well, so it's automatically added. It's beautiful. And if I had needed to add multiple resources at the same time, you can see you can click as many buttons as you need and select them, or just select everybody on the list based on your search. So I want to add a second facilitator for that day. Nice. Okay. Now, in this case, my task is not started. I assign the facilitators. So maybe I want to communicate to that facilitator about this task. All right. So to do that, let's get a task into the assign status. Help. And here, if I say send status update to all customers, what it will do, all of the resources will get a notification that the task is assigned, and they'll be requested to confirm. So I can do that in bulk, or I can do it via here, send email, send SMS. I can view a resource link and see what the resource will see it like, or I can go to the individual resource and ask that resource to confirm that task. So in case of the facilitator 2, let's send that facilitator an email. All right, the email was sent. Let's check timeline. Must not be configured with a valid user, so I got an invalid user thing. All right, I must have not configured facilitator 2 correctly. I know facilitator 1 is configured correctly, so I'm going to send email to facilitator 1 for demonstration purposes. So success, let's review the timeline. Okay, see. CCL demo facilitated at OmniBasis, day 4. So email went out with this link. So if I follow the view of that link that was sent, I got a display, day 4, the task from 2, 8 hours required based on my price of $100. I can earn $800. My help is needed. I'm happy to help out. All right, I'm happy to help. And here's my response as a facilitator 1, and I just confirmed the task. So if I go here, I can see an update. Facilitator 1 is scheduled. So that's the second way to assign multiple tasks, multiple resources to the task and wait for them to get an update. Also displays on the task level where you can communicate the nodes. You can create a node for a specific person or just a node. Hey, try to reach out to all and left messages. I'm not sending to anybody. I just want to make sure it's in my workflow. Click Save. My node is created. Also, if you have any files, or you need to communicate any files across the project task and the resources. Here we can select existing file and upload. If you're using timesheet function and you create timesheet with the file, you can use this place. We already discussed all the resources, and this is an easy way to add the boards and for that task. Okay, so it's going to be on my planning board for now. Okay, so that's the task level. Allows me to narrow down the task, allows me to see what's going on, allows me to communicate with the specific resources. Obviously, it also allows me to edit the task. And now it's not appropriate. This task has a valid user. It allows me to move the task around, check on the assignments, modify the workflow, add attachment, or use the custom fields. So that's the tasks from our tree work breakdown structure. Here, wanted to show you quickly. It's quite a flexible tree. You can move things around. So let's say if I wanted to move the task from unassigned to assign for day 3, I just pick, drag, confirm, and drop. And magically, my task is going to get appeared here in day 3. So let's move it back to keep the interface clean. All right. What else is interesting here? We talked about the filters. Okay, let's go to the next view. I mean, obviously from here, anytime you see the task, you can edit it, you can view it, you can manage it. There's a right click where you can edit, manage, create, delete as well. So let's go to grid structure. This is your grid-like structure for your tasks. Here you can decide which columns you want to show and hide. You can export to see to the comma separated value. You can create a PDF. You can create Excel. You can create a pretty print. So all of that is right in your fingertips. As well as you can filter on the individual column. So quite flexible. So from here, let's say I want this task. I double click on it, and boom, I'm back into working on the specific task, and jump with the view details, create task from here, and on and on and on. So let's look at some other views that may be useful for you. Here's my Gantt chart view, where all my tasks appear in the Gantt chart view. And it can be filtered in different ways. So I can filter here by resource. I can view on the grid. I can view on the chart. I can switch to the default. I can do the same. I can export different ways. I can zoom out, zoom in, zoom to fit. I can also do things like switch from a project-based chart to a resource-based chart. With one click, I see all my things and how is it laid out, and see where the tasks are, and how they line up in the chart. So this is a very useful view. Question was raised, hey, if I filter something here, do I have to manage that filter all the time? The answer is no. Once I select the resource, I just filter everything for this resource. So quickly switch to the project view, reload, see the tasks for that resource, see the tasks for the facilitator one here. Let's go to the last. So we have facilitator one. We have a 3-day on-site meeting. I'm going to clear our filter so we can see clearly all of our calendar. And here's our calendar for this project and for each resource. So, and including available, not available dates. So if you plan in the meeting and you need to request a resource, you can see the availability on the resource calendar itself. You can see it here. Also, if I try to schedule something for the date when my resource is not available, I will not be able to do that. So we're going to try to get a resource facilitator one schedule in the beginning of the month. And boom, looks like I'm not available there. So not a problem. I either find the next day availability or I say allow duplicates. And that will force the meeting over my availability, which I can confirm later. Okay. So at this point, we are looking at different features of the charts, grids, calendars, trees, searching, planning, sending messages, communicating, using the boards, using the resources, checking specific timeline for the project. So anything that's going on relevant to the project will happen here. So, for example, here's an email that was sent out to CCL Demo day 4 to confirm that that availability, etc. Any notes I need to do on the project level, and of course I can connect the timesheets here as well. So in this case, maybe good to go through some of the specific questions you guys had. So let me go into the question answer mode from the sheet provided. So multiple types of persons, resources must be scheduled in various places of the program. So we covered that, adding the resource to the task. Some resource activities may be scheduled at precise time before, during, and after the program. So you can assign specific start and end, or you can leave those fields empty. The resource will still appear on the work breakdown structure. Even so, it's not assigned to a specific date. It also will appear in all other views. Some activities are fluid. They need to be assigned to a resource but not happen to a specific time. Yes, we talked about it. One resource may have a different combination of activities schedules than other resource. So there's full flexibility of how you assign resources and what dates, times, and how they start and how you want to bundle it. Do you want to bundle it one task, multiple resources, or you want to have different tasks for different resources? In some cases, amount of person resource need to remain the same. It's up to you how you want to configure. In other case, number of resource need may fluctuate, participant counts increase. So again, you can add additional resources as we talked about it. It's really a nice feature that I didn't show here. You can actually say show high price and search it again. It will show you the hours that's been configured for that task and the total hours. So right now my project is total 485 hours. Why it's important is that one of the requirements you have, so for the specific resource, I want to make sure I don't go over the hours. So if I choose that resource and filter on it, I should get only tasks for that resource and the hours down to 62. Yeah. And that's good to know. And I have only 62 hours I've been tasked that resource with. So hopefully I covered quite a bit. We talked about the time before and after the meeting. There's two ways of doing it. You can actually do it on the actual task itself. So on the task itself, you just count in the assignment time, the start date, end date. Or you can use the feature that actually creates the buffer zone before and after, and helps you to see that buffer zone and built into your assignment here. So for our interface, it doesn't matter how many resources you task in the project. It's all the same. You want to remove resource, you just click delete resource from the chart, and it will be removed from all the tasks associated with that resource. That's pretty straightforward. So let's look at your emphasis and requests. Is there inheritability for project manager type of resource request? So we went through the process of resource requesting. So somebody can build it, they can build out the work breakdown structure, and then the PM can go and decide which resource is going to get a request. So your resource is going to get email or text with a link where they can confirm or deny their participation in the project. We saw quite a bit of views. Maybe I'll reinforce it on resource view. You can actually jump to that resource itself and see quite a lot of information about that resource, specifically all the tasks for that resource and the calendar for that resource as well. We talked about saving the preset filters, so you can always pull out your existing filter or save it. Quite flexible searching by custom fields, any other field available through the system. So communication from the project manager perspective happens at the resource level, at the task level, or at the entire project level. At the project level, a quick note here, I can do a workflow and I send to all resources. And all resources going to get my email with a note saying, please complete the survey. And that's how easy that is. That just been scheduled. All right, we talked about regulatory requirements and seeing times worked per resource. We talked about the need of scheduling requests and activities that are relevant for a unique person or 20 or 30 people at the same 10 or 20 people at the same time. So we can do that. Change all aspects of a project program happens often, and it's easy way efficiently communicate. So we talked about easily with one click. You can go back to the project and say, hey, update my dates. I'm moving project to a different week. It's my new starting date. It will automatically, let's jump into real next week. It will adjust rebase project task, and if I choose to, send emails to resources doing that. Anybody who's in the workflow will get a communication about the task changes. So that workflow can be on the resource level, it can be a workflow email, or can be an owner of that task. We talked about how resources are being asked to participate in the project. They can say yes or no. The answer is recorded. So the reason why the notes exchange can happen via email. So if you don't want to use the task workflow, if you want to use the resource-based workflow, you can go to resource and ask that resource a question via email, via notes. So notes. If I create a note and send to the resource can reply to that email, and reply will appear here. Beautiful. Advanced scenarios, connecting programs and view and share information across them. So I showed you briefly how to achieve that through hiding programs. Another way to connect programs is through parent relationship. So the parent relationship will let you to jump between the projects, but it will not show the tasks and projects here. So the parent relationship is achieved on the project level, where you say, okay, here's this project, and you should be able to select the project parent. Oh, the project parent can be only selected for the boards. So you can use the boards to create a hierarchical structure in your projects. Or use hide tasks like I showed here. Here's my tree. Let's say my meetings are finished. I'm done with them. I'm going to just hide them. Conveniently, all those tasks hidden, but my virtual session's coming up, so I want to see them in my work breakdown structure as well as my chart and grids and calendars. So I'm going to unhide that branch. So now I'm going to see all the things scheduled for virtual post-program coaching exercise. We talked about how to block the resource calendar. You can block it yourself with this availability. You can block it with tasks. It will appear on the resource calendar and the work breakdown structure calendar. And we talked about the resource itself can go in and block their calendars. Our system is not based on any seats. Our pricing is not based on how many users you have. If you want 1 million users using your system, you feel free to use it. It's based on every record you write into the database. Just the similar way as you use an electricity for every kilowatt per hour, it costs money for electrical company to generate that electricity. Every record to write in database, it costs us money to write and maintain that record, and that's how you get charged. We're talking about pay rate a little bit, so every resource can be tasked with the pay rate. It will appear on your views, and the pay rate will calculate what your cost for resource is. Let's hide a couple of columns and show them. So look, cost, price, and profit. So based on how much hours is scheduled, costs $50. We charge $100 for it. The profit for that task is $50, and it's trickled down to the summaries. You can also export this into PDF, Excel, and view it there. So all of our tasks is actually calendar based. So when you send the task, the attachment arrives, which automatically can be installed in your calendar and your Google Calendar or any other party calendar via ISV file, or it can be downloaded from the calendar itself. So here on the export, I just exported the calendar in Excel, or I can export the calendar in my ISV form. Okay. Pre-population of fields of data exist. So we're trying to understand what data we already know about the task or resource and pre-populate. So if the task has a parent, we use the end date of that parent to start the start date. If the resource is known, that resource is already filled in. If you're working within a specific project, we know that project and context of that project. So when you're on the task level and they created that new task, you're already assigned to that project automatically, just like I'm showing it right here. So we have tons of products integration, and none of that requires an extra pricing or anything. It's just there for you to use it. So I didn't go in details. I do want to call out some things that you will love. OmniMarketer is how you communicate the messages. Here you build the template messages, and you can use those templates to communicate to your resources anytime you need to send an email or a note or a task. Your tasks and projects can be templated, and on and on and on. That's a good feature to know. Omni Customers is your full CRM system. If you do require some kind of verification process and ID verification, we have integrated ID verification here. We have simple booking application here, so you don't need to use manual spreadsheets. If you really want to set up your general ledger accounts and account quickly here, and then integrate whatever accounting software you're using, it's also available for you. OmniSign is your full document signature electronically. You got a stamp that accepted by Adobe PDF, and that is verified signature. And OmniPass is another good software to use for mobile wallets. So one, you can configure the project participation with a mobile wallet and with the tasks assigned to you, and the participants will receive notification on their mobile phones right in their phone without installing any extra applications. I guess this brings us to the end. Hopefully, there's been a productive hour for you. Looking forward to your questions, comments, and as always, we grow and build our project based on our customer use. The more use we have, the more use cases we support, the more feature-rich our products become. And that's how we build all of our products at OmniBasis. So long, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching us.
Thank you for watching OmniBasis How-To videos. To keep up to date, subscribe to our channel. If you have more questions, visit help.omnibasis.com.